On the second day of her arranged marriage to Justin Cassaday, Bella Dayton's world collapsed. A sudden revelation shattered the foundation of her identity. She was not the biological daughter of the prestigious Dayton family. The people she had called father and mother for 25 years were not truly her parents. She was merely a stand-in, a substitute for the real heiress who had been lost and later found. The truth struck her harder than any betrayal. Everything, her education, her social standing, even her marriage, had been built on a lie. The union between the Daytons and the Cassadays, celebrated by the business world as a perfect alliance, now felt like a cruel joke. How could she, an imposter, remain in this political marriage when her very name was borrowed? That morning, Bella sat across from Justin in their quiet, luxurious dining room. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words. He looked as composed as ever, elegant in his tailored suit, sipping coffee as if nothing had changed. Summoning her courage, Bella finally said the words that had been burning in her chest, "Let's get a divorce." Justin's hand froze midair, his expression unreadable. For a moment, neither spoke. The ticking clock on the wall sounded deafeningly loud. Bella continued, her voice trembling but determined. She would not let her mistake ruin the business alliance between their families. A clean break, she thought, would save everyone from scandal, but behind Justin's calm silence lay something deeper: confusion, disbelief, and a flicker of anger. To him, Bella's request wasn't just a rejection of their marriage. It was a rejection of him. And that was only the beginning. Justin didn't answer immediately. He set his coffee cup down with deliberate calm, the faint clink of porcelain against glass echoing like a warning. His eyes, sharp, cold, and impossibly steady, lifted to meet hers. "So that's it?" he asked quietly. "You've decided to walk away now that you've gotten what you wanted?" Bella frowned, startled. "What I wanted?" He let out a humorless laugh. "You got the Dayton name, the Cassaday marriage contract, and now that you've discovered you're not really one of them, you think you can just switch families like changing clothes? First a false father, then a temporary husband." The words cut deeper than he intended, yet he didn't stop. Anger and pride burned through his usually restrained demeanor. For years, Justin Cassaday had been the perfect gentleman, calculating, disciplined, unshakable. But right now, he felt like a fool. A man who had been used as part of a corporate exchange. Bella's lips trembled, but she said nothing. There was no defense that wouldn't sound like an excuse. Within days, the news leaked: the Dayton heiress is not a Dayton after all. Headlines spread like wildfire, questioning the legitimacy of the Cassaday-Dayton alliance. Stock values plummeted. Investors demanded answers. Justin faced the press with his usual composure, denying rumors of a split, while Bella hid from the cameras, drowning in guilt. Every article seemed to accuse her of deceit. Every photograph of them together looked staged, hollow. That night, when she packed her suitcase, her phone buzzed. A message from Justin: "You've done enough damage. Don't make it worse." Her hands shook. She wanted to reply, to explain, but what could she say? The scandal had already done its work. For now, she could only wait, postponing her divorce until the storm settled, even if it meant staying trapped in a marriage that no longer had love, only obligations and silence. The next morning, Bella received an unexpected invitation, a polite yet unmistakably commanding call from Winifred Water, Justin's mother. The message was simple: come to the Cassaday residence. Alone, Bella arrived at the mansion with cautious grace, her nerves hidden behind a calm smile. Winifred sat in the sunlit drawing room, poised like royalty, her pearls gleaming and her expression as cold as the marble floors beneath her feet. "So," Winifred began without preamble, "the truth is out. You're not a Dayton, and yet you carry our name." Bella remained silent, her gaze lowered in respect, though every word felt like a knife. Winifred slid a crisp white envelope across the table. Inside is a check. Enough for you to live comfortably anywhere you wish. In return, you'll leave Justin, and this family, quietly. I assume a girl like you understands the value of discretion. Bella lifted the envelope, glanced at the amount, and smiled faintly. That's generous of you, Mrs. Cassaday. But before I sign anything, may I suggest one small detail? Winifred arched an eyebrow. And that is? Write voluntary gift next to your signature, Bella said softly, meeting her gaze for the first time. Otherwise, someone might think I was paid off. And I wouldn't want to tarnish the Cassaday reputation any further. For a heartbeat, the air froze. Then Winifred's lips pressed into a thin line, a mix of irritation and reluctant admiration. The girl was smarter than she'd expected. Without a word, Winifred signed again, adding the note. Bella folded the check neatly, tucked it into her bag, and rose to leave. Tell Justin I won't trouble him again, she said calmly, her tone polite but resolute. As she walked out of the mansion, Winifred's eyes followed her, calculating, assessing. She had meant to intimidate the girl. Instead, she found herself strangely impressed. Bella Dayton might not be a true heiress, but she carried herself like one. That evening, Bella sat in her apartment, staring at her phone screen. The check from Winifred had already been deposited, not because she needed the money, but because she wanted to prove the transaction was legitimate. She attached the receipt to a message and sent it to Justin with a brief note: "Your mother's request has been fulfilled. I'll proceed with the divorce once you're ready." The message was marked read, but no reply came. Days turned into weeks. Each time Bella tried to bring up the divorce, Justin had the same answer: "I'm busy." Meetings, business trips, late nights, excuses piled up like walls between them. She knew he was avoiding her, but she couldn't understand why. He had been so eager to maintain appearances before. Why resist now, when both of them clearly wanted out? One evening, she went to his office to confront him directly. Justin sat behind his desk, eyes fixed on his laptop. "You don't need to rush," he said flatly, not looking up. "There's a process. Let it take its course." Bella clenched her fists. "You're dragging it out on purpose." He finally met her gaze, expression unreadable. "Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not ready to see my name on a divorce certificate just yet." His voice was calm, but there was something in it: pride, bitterness, maybe even a hint of regret. Bella didn't respond. She simply placed the prepared documents on his desk and walked away. 2 weeks later, they stood in the courthouse. The air was sterile, the atmosphere painfully formal. Justin signed the papers without hesitation, his pen moving swiftly across the page. When it was her turn, Bella hesitated for a fraction of a second, then signed too. Justin handed the papers to the clerk, turned without a word, and walked out. No goodbye, no glance back. As his footsteps faded down the hallway, Bella exhaled shakily. The first stage of the divorce was complete, and yet, for reasons she couldn't explain, her heart felt heavier than ever. Life after the divorce filing settled into an uneasy calm. The media had moved on to newer scandals, and the Cassaday-Dayton alliance was quietly repaired through business negotiations. Bella returned to work at the Dayton Corporation, the same office she had entered years ago as the family's proud daughter, and now, as an outsider in name but not in spirit. Surprisingly, no one treated her differently. Mr. Dayton still greeted her with the same warmth, and Mrs. Dayton often brought her lunch from home, as if nothing had changed. The revelation that she wasn't their biological child hadn't destroyed their bond, it had only made it more human. They had raised her, loved her, and that, to them, was enough. Then came the day she met Caroline Dayton, the real daughter who had been lost and later found. Bella expected awkwardness, even resentment. Instead, Caroline smiled when she extended her hand. "I've heard a lot about you," Caroline said, her tone gentle. "And I'm sorry for everything you had to go through." Bella blinked, momentarily speechless. "You don't owe me an apology. You just came home." From that day on, an unexpected friendship began to grow between them. They worked together on charity projects, attended family dinners, and even laughed over old memories Bella had once shared with their parents. There was no jealousy, no competition, only a quiet understanding between two women connected by fate and loss. At times, Bella caught glimpses of the life that might have been hers, the family name, the effortless belonging. But instead of bitterness, she felt peace. One evening, as she and Caroline walked out of the office together, Caroline turned to her with a soft smile. "You know," she said, "Mom still calls you her first daughter." Bella smiled faintly. "Then I guess I'll always be part of this family, even if not by blood." For the first time in months, she meant it, and the thought no longer hurt. The evening of the reunion was bright with city lights and laughter. Bella hadn't planned to attend, but Caroline had insisted she go. "You've worked too hard. You deserve a night off," she'd said. So Bella found herself standing in the hotel ballroom, surrounded by familiar faces from years ago, people who still remembered her as the elegant, confident girl from the Dayton family. Then, a voice called her name, "Bella Dayton, or should I say, Bella Cassaday?" She turned and froze for a moment before smiling. "Henry Peterson," she greeted warmly. Henry had changed little, still charming, still carrying that same confident grin. Years ago, when he was just a struggling entrepreneur, Bella had believed in him and helped fund his small startup. Now he was a successful businessman, admired and respected. They spent the evening catching up, talking about their careers, travels, and the unpredictable paths life had taken. Henry's gaze lingered on her longer than it should have, and for the first time in a while, Bella felt at ease, genuinely enjoying someone's company without the weight of expectation. But then, the atmosphere shifted. The crowd murmured, attention turning toward the entrance. Bella followed their gaze, and her heart tightened. Cassaday had just walked in. He looked every bit the powerful CEO he'd always been, composed and magnetic. On his arm was a young woman Bella instantly recognized, Vivian Locke, the daughter of one of his mother's oldest friends, the woman Winifred had once described as a suitable match. Conversations hushed. Whispers spread. Had Justin moved on? Were they dating already? Henry noticed Bella's silence. "You okay?" he asked softly. Bella forced a smile. "Of course. We're divorced. He can do whatever he wants." But as she watched Justin glance briefly in her direction, his expression unreadable, his hand tightening slightly around Vivian's, Bella realized her words weren't entirely true. Somewhere deep down, the old ache she thought had died flickered to life again. The night was quiet, the city's hum fading beneath the soft rustle of rain. Bella was working late in her apartment when the doorbell rang, once, then again, more insistently. She hesitated before opening it, and there he was, Justin Cassaday, drenched from the rain, the faint scent of whiskey clinging to him, his tie hung loose, his hair slightly disheveled, a rare crack in his usual control. "We need to talk," he said, voice low and hoarse. Bella stepped aside reluctantly. "You're drunk. Come back tomorrow." But Justin ignored her, walking straight in. His eyes burned with something raw, jealousy, confusion, maybe both. "So," he said, turning to face her, "is it true? Are you seeing Henry Peterson now?" Bella's brows furrowed. "That's none of your business anymore." He gave a bitter laugh. "None of my business? You were laughing with him like nothing ever happened between us. And don't tell me it's coincidence he suddenly reappeared, just like how your real sister miraculously came home right when you wanted a divorce." Her chest tightened. "You think I planned that?" Justin stepped closer, his voice rising. I think you're smarter than you pretend to be. You used everything, your story, your pity, your innocence, to make me look like the villain. Stop it. Bella snapped, eyes glistening. I never lied about who I was. I just wanted out before we both destroyed each other. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the rain outside. Then Justin's tone softened, almost a whisper. You think I didn't care, Bella? I tried not to. I told myself this marriage was just business, but somewhere along the way, he hesitated, meeting her eyes. I fell for you. Bella froze. The confession hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Her heart pounded painfully, torn between anger and the truth she had buried long ago. She wanted to tell him it was too late, but when he reached out, brushing away a tear she hadn't noticed, the words refused to come. Bella stood frozen in her living room, staring at Justin, his words still echoing. I fell for you. It was like time folded back on itself, pulling her into the past, to a spring evening years ago, when everything between them had been simpler and painfully unspoken. She remembered the campus courtyard bathed in soft golden light, the air smelling faintly of jasmine. She had been only 20 then, bright-eyed, full of hope, secretly in love with the quiet, serious senior everyone admired. Justin Cassaday, already destined for greatness, had always seemed out of reach. Yet that night, she'd found the courage to tell him the truth. Justin, she had said, standing nervously under the cherry trees, clutching her notebook like a shield. I like you. I have for a long time. He had looked at her, calm, unreadable as always. There had been a long silence before he finally spoke. Bella, you're young. You'll be leaving for London soon. If I said yes, it would only be because of the moment, not because it would last. She'd tried to smile, pretending she understood. So, it's a no? He hesitated, his gaze softening just enough to hurt. It's not that I don't like you. I just don't want to start something I can't promise to finish. That was the last conversation they had before she left the country. For years, she buried the memory, convincing herself she had moved on. Now, standing before the same man, older, colder, and suddenly vulnerable, Bella's heart twisted. Everything had changed, yet somehow, nothing had. The same walls stood between them, built from pride, timing, and fear of getting hurt. Justin took a hesitant step closer, breaking her reverie. I meant what I said, he murmured. Maybe it was too late back then, but it isn't now. Bella looked up, her voice trembling. You're wrong, Justin. It's always been too late for us. And yet, as he reached for her hand, neither of them stepped away. Weeks passed after that stormy night, and though Justin's confession still haunted Bella, their lives drifted apart once more, until the news broke. Cassaday Group declares bankruptcy. The headlines flashed across every financial network, sending shockwaves through the business world. Once one of the most powerful corporations in the city, Justin's empire had crumbled overnight. Lawsuits, unpaid debts, and failed investments filled the papers. Bella sat in her office, staring blankly at the news feed. For years, she had known Justin as untouchable, precise, disciplined, always in control. Seeing his name now tied to failure felt surreal, almost painful. That evening, as rain drizzled outside, her doorbell rang again. When she opened it, she froze. Justin stood there. But this time, he wasn't the composed CEO she remembered. His suit was wrinkled, his tie gone, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Can I come in? He asked quietly. Just for a few days. I need a place to stay. Bella hesitated. You have plenty of friends, Justin. Or hotels. I sold the penthouse, he said simply. And I don't want to answer questions right now. I just need, he paused, exhaling. A roof and a little silence. Despite her better judgment, she stepped aside. He entered without another word, heading straight for the couch. As the hours passed, Bella watched him from across the room. He didn't speak, didn't touch his phone, just sat there, a man stripped of everything but pride, yet something about the situation felt off. Justin Cassaday was never helpless. Never without a plan. That night, as she prepared a blanket for him, she couldn't help thinking, was this just another act? When he finally looked up and offered a faint, weary smile, she couldn't tell if it was sincerity or strategy. Either way, she knew her quiet life was about to get complicated again. Living under the same roof again was the last thing Bella had imagined or wanted. Yet somehow, Justin Cassaday had slipped back into her daily life as if he'd never left. At first, she expected him to be distant, maybe even cold. But to her surprise, Justin became helpful. He woke up early, cooked breakfast, and even fixed the squeaky door that had annoyed her for months. Within a week, her mother was singing his praises. "He's so polite, Bella. And that soup he made, goodness, it tastes better than yours," Mrs. Dayton said with a teasing smile. Bella groaned. "Mom, he's just pretending. He's only here because he lost his company, remember?" But it didn't help. Her mother adored him, her younger sister couldn't stop giggling whenever he was around, and even the family cat seemed to prefer his lap to anyone else's. Every evening, the house filled with laughter, mostly thanks to Justin's easy charm. He'd chat with her mother about cooking, tease her sister about her boyfriend, and somehow make Bella look like the unreasonable one whenever she tried to complain. One night, while they were setting the table together, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Are you trying to win my family over?" she snapped. Justin glanced at her, amused. "Why would I need to try? They already like me." Her glare could have melted glass. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" He shrugged, a small smile playing at his lips. "Maybe a little. It's nice, being part of a family again." His tone was gentle, almost vulnerable, and for a fleeting second, Bella saw the exhaustion behind his charm, the loneliness he tried to hide. But before she could say anything, her mother called from the kitchen, "Dinner's ready. Bella, sit next to Justin." Bella groaned inwardly. She sat down, cheeks warm, while Justin only grinned, clearly pleased with his victory in this small, ridiculous domestic war. At first, Bella told herself it was just an illusion, a side effect of living together. But the longer Justin stayed, the harder it became to ignore the warmth seeping into her heart. He no longer acted like the aloof CEO she once knew. Instead, he was patient, gentle, a man who remembered her favorite tea, who left post-it notes reminding her to eat breakfast, who waited for her to come home just to ask, "How was your day?" Some nights, she caught him sitting quietly on the balcony, staring at the city lights. When she asked what he was thinking, he'd smile faintly and say, "About how I used to take everything for granted." It was in those small, unguarded moments that Bella began to see a different side of him, one that was sincere, wounded, and deeply remorseful. Yet, she refused to let her guard down too easily. "You can't just show up and act like nothing happened," she reminded him one evening while washing dishes. Justin looked at her, water dripping from his hands, eyes soft. "I'm not acting, Bella. I'm trying to start over." Her heart stuttered at the honesty in his tone. She quickly turned away, pretending to scrub harder. But she couldn't ignore how his presence had quietly filled the emptiness she didn't even realize was there. When Henry texted her one night, asking if she wanted to grab coffee, she hesitated. Before she could reply, Justin appeared behind her. "Henry again?" His voice was calm, but his jaw tightened. Bella raised an eyebrow. "You're jealous?" He smirked, leaning closer. "Maybe I am. Can you blame me?" For the first time in years, she laughed, genuinely, softly. Something fragile but alive stirred between them, like an ember slowly reigniting. That night, as she turned off the lights, Bella realized the truth she didn't want to face. Justin Cassaday was finding his way back into her heart, one quiet gesture at a time. The fragile peace between them shattered overnight. It started with a simple misunderstanding, a late-night phone call Justin received in the hallway. Bella overheard just enough to catch a woman's voice, soft and familiar, calling him darling. The next morning, when he left early without saying goodbye, her doubts grew into fury. When Justin returned that evening, she stood waiting in the living room, arms crossed. "So that's why you've been staying late? Making up for bankruptcy, or for someone else?" He blinked, taken aback. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," she snapped. I heard her voice. "The woman from last night." Justin sighed, rubbing his temple. "That was my lawyer. She's helping me with Cassaday's liquidation," but Bella cut him off. "Save it, Justin. You've always been good at excuses." Her voice trembled between anger and heartbreak. The argument spiraled. Words sharper than knives flew across the room, and for the first time since he'd moved in, Justin didn't defend himself. He simply looked at her with tired eyes and whispered, "You still don't believe in me." Before she could respond, her mother, Mrs. Dayton, entered with a too bright smile. "Perfect timing. Justin, dear, I've invited a few guests tonight. Some charming single ladies from my bridge club. Perhaps you'd like to meet them?" Bella froze. "Mom." But Winifred Dayton was unstoppable. Within minutes, the house filled with chatter and perfume. Justin's expression hardened as one woman boldly complimented his cooking, another asking if he liked red wine. Bella stood off to the side, fuming in silent humiliation. When the guests finally left, Justin turned to her, voice low and wounded. "You think I'm the kind of man who'd flirt while living under your roof?" She glared back, but her anger was already laced with guilt. He shook his head, forcing a bitter smile. "Maybe we were both wrong. You don't trust me, and I don't know how to make you believe that I only see you." The room fell silent, heavy with words left unsaid. Bella packed her suitcase in silence, her movements precise and cold. The morning light filtered through the curtains, painting the room in shades of melancholy. She had made up her mind. Distance was the only cure for the storm inside her. The company's upcoming project in Singapore was the perfect excuse. "Just a few weeks," she told her mother, ignoring the concern in her voice. "I need space, and focus." Justin found out before she even left. He didn't stop her, at least not at first. He simply watched her from the doorway as she zipped her luggage shut. "Running away again, Bella?" he asked quietly. She froze, refusing to meet his eyes. "It's called working, Justin. Something you might want to do, instead of following me around." His lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. "Maybe I just miss my wife." Her chest tightened, but she brushed past him without a word. 2 days later, as Bella boarded her flight, she exhaled in relief, until she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Excuse me, seat 12B. "That's me." She turned, and there he was, Justin Cassaday, sunglasses in hand, smirking like a man who had just won a silent war. Her jaw dropped. "You've got to be kidding me." "Coincidence," he said, sliding into the seat beside her. "Or fate. Take your pick." Throughout the flight, Justin kept his distance yet managed to invade every corner of her thoughts. He ordered coffee for her without asking, passed her documents from the steward with a quiet, careful, "It's hot," and when she dozed off, he wordlessly pulled down the window shade. By the time the plane landed, Bella's defenses were cracking. She told herself it was just proximity, just habit, but the truth was harder to deny. Even after everything, the lies, the pride, the heartbreak, His presence still stirred something deep within her. As the plane taxied to the gate, Justin leaned closer and whispered, "You can run as far as you like, Bella, but I'll always find you." And for the first time, she wasn't sure whether that scared her or comforted her.